Coronavirus.
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 Coronavirus. 100 years ago, the deadly influenza virus infected hundreds of millions of people around the world, overwhelming hospitals and killing tens of millions of people. In the 14th century, the Black Death killed up to an estimated 200 million people.
We all knew another flu pandemic was about to happen. It wasn't a matter of what, it was a matter of when. 456 cases of coronavirus have been confirmed in the UK, and what are the government going to do to contain it?
Hold on, are they containing the virus or the news behind it?
We're here at Wickham High School finding out how the coronavirus hysteria has shaded the truth behind the mask.
Welcome back. I'm here with Mr. Garrett Chapman, head of Year 11 at Wickham High School, to ask him some questions about the news.
So I'm now joined by Miss Jones, an English teacher at Wickham High School.
I'm joined by Mr. Rushton, lead practitioner, head frisbee coach and history teacher at Wickham High School. If I were to mention the news, what was the first thing that would come to mind?
The coronavirus.
It's definitely coronavirus.
Well, obviously coronavirus.
Do you think you're missing out on anything by the coronavirus taking over the headlines?
Yeah, I absolutely do. It's on the headlines, every news organisation, every newspaper. It's right at the top on news websites, so you've got to scroll down if you want to read about anything else. So yeah, it's blanket coverage at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
And did you know about the movements being taken to protect the environment at the moment?
Unfortunately not.
So the 2022 plan to have a plastic packaging tax was unaware to you?
Yeah, I have no knowledge of it.
Oh, and the £640 million to protect natural habitats and plant 30,000 hectares of trees was not to your knowledge?
No, I have no knowledge of that at all.
I have looked at that actually because I looked at the budget last night, but again you had to scroll down to find that. I think the environment's fallen off the agenda. I think even the budget isn't as dominant as it normally is. Sports news, entertainment news, it's all falling down at the moment.
I am aware of those things now, but I confess I paid some attention to the budget and I'm aware that it's a significant change in spending direction, but beyond, and that a certain amount of money had been put aside to deal with coronavirus, but also other issues as well. But beyond that, I haven't got into sort of granular detail. I do know that those things you've said aren't even a drop in the ocean. So that is perhaps why I was not aware of them. But if you're trying to illustrate that stuff is happening that we should be aware of, then that's a good example.
Okay, perfect. So do you think the population would benefit from a reduce in the COVID-19 coverage?
I think it's a difficult balance. We need to know what the updates are, we need to know what's happening, but at the same time I think if our attention is turned away from other news, we are missing out on stuff. So it'd be nice to have it kind of, an update bar somewhere that you can click on if you want to, or turn to if you want to read about it. But I'd like to see a little bit less of it.
Football training the other day, my son's football training, and one of the mums came up to me and said, did I know that the Americans have a cure that's already being injected into people? And this is a grown-up, literally just believing stuff that pops up on her social media feed.
What the news and government are hiding behind the mask is the amount of people suffering indirectly from the coronavirus. The outbreak has led to increased prejudice, xenophobia, discrimination, violence and racism against Chinese people and people with East Asian and Southeast Asian descent and appearance. Restaurants in London's Chinatown have seen a 50% decrease in trade amid illness worries. In Solihull, a woman of Chinese origin experienced name-calling and was told to take your coronavirus back home.
A woman of Indian origin tried to intervene but was later beaten up and taken to hospital. On the 2nd of March 2020, a Singaporean Chinese student studying at the University College of London was beaten up when walking past a group of young people who shouted, "I don't want your coronavirus in my country," to him in Oxford Street, London. He suffered fracture to his face and bruises on his eye.
But breaking news, Austria have just announced their first death as a result of coronavirus.
So what about the greedy mouths behind the mask? Social media is full of photos of empty shelves due to large amount of people panic buying goods such as pasta, hand sanitizer, toilet roll and tinned foods. This is because hysteria has been rapidly increasing as a result of the coronavirus. However, a government minister has said there is no need for stockpiling, but can panic buying be controlled? The news and media have easily added more hysteria than needed, with every news article starting with the words coronavirus or COVID-19. Due to this panic buying, food banks have been receiving a lot less donations than usual due to the fact that supermarkets are out of stock of many foods that would usually be donated. There are concerns that these foods will increase in price due to the increasing demand, even though there is no need.
But breaking news, Ireland have shut down their schools and colleges due to the virus.
Do you think it's necessary to stock up on food in case of isolation?
No, I don't, no. Basically what's happening, people are obviously panicked and a little bit worried by what's going on, but the government has said that they're working really closely with supermarkets to ensure that there is enough food for people and everything is going to be adequately supplied. The problem is when people are panic buying though, they are creating a problem that wouldn't otherwise exist. So I trust the government. I think we're going to have all the food and stuff that we need. We just need to make sure we're not hoarding stuff selfishly to prevent other people from having it and therefore creating another problem.
Do you feel like you're being fed the correct information from the government and the news?
Yes, I trust the government on this. I think the government are giving us the correct information. When I look at the news, I think the BBC are a brilliant source of factual accuracy on this. I think we have to be careful when we're going through social media and stuff like that because there is fake news. This is the perfect opportunity to make fake news. There was something going around yesterday about Daniel Radcliffe had apparently caught it, which he hadn't. There is fake news out there, and I therefore think it's very important that people, especially at the moment, learn how to identify true, real, reliable news from that which is fake and designed maybe for less than good purposes.
Do you, as a citizen of the UK, feel comfortable with how the government are handling this pandemic?
Yes, indeed. I think, essentially, the government should always follow the advice of scientific advisors. Ultimately, yes, politicians have to make the decisions, but politicians are not experts on these things, so therefore they need to listen to the experts. And from everything I can see, the government is very closely listening to expert advice and following it to the letter, which I think is precisely what we want. I want a government that is being led by evidence and being led by doctors and experts on a matter like this. And I think they're doing precisely that, which is exactly what I want to be saying.
If you were to do anything differently, what would you do?
Dare I say, because I am not a chief medical expert or anything like that, I'm not 100% sure what I would do differently, nor do I feel particularly qualified, dare I say, to answer that question. I'm totally behind what the government's doing at the moment. I think it's getting things right, and hence I'm very pleased with the response at the moment that we're seeing.
As we head into the future, it is the media's job to ensure that no more hysteria is created. People need to stay calm, otherwise the lack of control could easily increase.
This has been Evie,
Martha,
and Naomi, reporting from High Wycombe. Back to the studio.